Are we in the midst of a Bitcoin super cycle? You're seeing more analysts say $100,000, $200,000 possible for 2024. Can that happen? And we have a very special guest today. That's right. John Deaton is going to join us. Famous. You may have heard of him from the XRP lawsuit and some of the SEC lawsuits. We're going to get his insight. What's happening in the legal world with crypto. It's time to discover crypto.
Capital flight is coming to the United States. The dollar is going to zero.
And that's what makes Bitcoin so special.
You have to have gone through a couple cycles to understand.
Once the price is able to clear this level, the breakout is on its way.
This is your indication to jump in now.
I, for one, cannot wait to talk to John Deaton. I got some hard-hitting questions, and I want to try to get some alpha from this Coinbase versus SEC lawsuit. What altcoin should we keep an eye out on? And potentially even talk about some geopolitical issues and how it's related to blockchain. It's going to be really, really good stuff, folks. You're going to want to stick around for that. Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's an absolute crazy Friday. I mean, obviously, if you guys are paying attention to anything in the news right now, it is one could say it's quite a freaky Friday here. But markets are actually really interesting. We're getting a really big bounce right now, and there's a lot of reasons why. So we'll be covering all of that today. And I'm just, like you said, I'm excited to have John on today because this is someone I've actually watched for years at this time. Used to watch him like the NBA Finals with the XRP lawsuit back at the beginning of 2021.
Man,
and so getting these answers is going to be awesome.
Too soon. You brought up the NBA Finals. It's actually Bean Day. It's National Bean Day. Those who don't know, Kobe Bryant passed away 4 years ago today. I remember exactly where I was. I don't think any athlete passing has affected me as much as that. So shout out to the great one, Mamba, to him and his family.
That was probably like a subconscious thing you did because you brought that up this morning. So that metaphor just came. That was.
I feel like this country and just the world in general needs more Mamba mentality. Some say, oh, it's too tough. It's too hard. We need a softer world. I disagree with that. I think Mamba mentality is something that is very, very much needed. But speaking of what's needed, the markets might need to slow down because things are pumping. And we have some altcoins that are exploding, relatively speaking. Of course, Bitcoin is up 3.5%. Ethereum up about 2.5%. But look at Solana. Solana is up 5.2%, growing that salami right there. And Avalanche is up 7.1%. Seeing some really good gains. And even Polygon. Polygon really doesn't want to move too much. You see it just slowly losing market cap rank over the months here. And ICP up 8.7%. But let's look at the biggest gainers for the day. And right now, Bitcoin coming in 41,232. But look at Sats. Sats had a terrible day yesterday. In fact, let's just click on the chart so we can see on the 7-day here. Very, very red, very, very bearish. And then sometimes that is when you got to get in on the markets, everybody. Sats is up 20%. Conflux, the Chinese Ethereum, is also up 20%, almost right above 20 cents, 21 cents right there. Near Protocol up 12%. OP is up, and Bonk. I thought Bonk was dead. Bonk is bleeding. Bonk is over. And now Bonk is up 10.7%. And Tia had a red week, but now up 9%. Still slightly in the red, but definitely has offset some of those losses. Not too much is bearish, though. MakerDAO leading the way at 2.2.
It's taking back up. We're getting quite the bounce here. And Conflux, too, we're going to be talking about that later in this episode, so make sure you guys stick around because there's actually going to be a lead-in to one of the 5 reasons why we are entering the super cycle here. But yeah, a lot of green today. We're starting to see just a bit of a bounce from that 38,500. Let me know what you guys picked up in the comments below, what altcoins you're watching, what altcoins you believe are underrated, because there's a lot of picks that we're going to be going through today.
And breaking news. We're going to talk about Bitcoin price, but I want to show you, before we get into that article, breaking. This is from
we hit 2 billion?
About 2 hours. $18 million from holding $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. BlackRock, Larry Fink, 2 years ago, worst asset in the world. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And now they have $2 billion worth.
Yeah, they have $2 billion worth of a money laundering index from what Larry Fink said just a few years back. So interesting how the tides are turning, how it's all shifting. They flooded retail out. Retail's now starting to panic once again. And BlackRock is about to be holding 2 billion assets under management here and profit off every single route through Coinbase, Circle USDC, and all of the management fees. It's ironic.
And someone's speaking of those dog-based Solana meme coins. Bonk is up 10%. They asked, what about dog with hat? I just checked. It is down almost 5%. So we're seeing a little bit of a correction there. I now I don't feel as bad because, I did that meme coin video. I had the Avalanche meme coin. It sounds like, is Rooster in you or something like that, or Coca-Cola in you? I forget. Also talked about Pepe. And then I had a choice, Dog with Hat, Bonk. I felt Dog with Hat, they probably both will fall 85, 95% at some point. I felt Dog with Hat, it might happen more quickly and more suddenly, and I just didn't want to lead people to the slaughter there.
Yeah, it's definitely got to sell off its hat here soon just to, hopefully get a bounce on the market. But yeah, you made the Bonk video what was the third one you said? It was Bonk, Rooster in you, and then it was Pepe. Pepe was the third one.
It should have been MAGA maybe, but who knows?
To be honest, yes, I'm curious to know where Pepe is at right now. So Pepe's up actually a little bit. Well, 24 hours is up. So Pepe, I wonder if Pepe's going to get that bounce here soon. It's been trading sideways for quite a bit.
You know what? That almost looks like a little bit of a trading range right there. And
that
it's
little
interesting.
Bullish breakout perhaps.
And if honestly you zoom out long enough, that is a very, very long and drawn out Bollinger Band. It's going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. And the longer it goes, the stronger the breakout or the breakdown. Speaking of breakout, Bitcoin broke out above $41,000 amid the slowing Grayscale Bitcoin outflows here. We have some of the data here. So showed witness outflows of $394 million yesterday, down from $430 the day before and $500 on Tuesday. So we're seeing a slowdown in Grayscale withdrawals here. And while the outflows remain high, it is the second lowest since the first trading day. IBIT, the largest inflows yesterday of $170 million. They generated $100 million worth of inflows. And then BitB was third. So we have Fidelity, BitB coming in number 3. And the total inflows were $314 million. Not enough to overcome the outflows. So we had net outflows of $80 million. So slightly bearish on the numbers for that right there. What are your thoughts? I mean, are you feeling bearish? It is slightly bearish.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in that in-between zone here, which I keep referring to the mid-20s when we kept coming down at 24K level, and people thought we're going to go to 20, thought we're going to go 19, then ultimately just ended up bouncing. But it looks like I had the same thoughts as Technique here and a few people in the chat picking up some of these altcoins. I picked up in dollar cost average into a few projects myself, of course, with our Discord, which if you guys aren't in, we're doing an awesome 30-month free trial for you guys. That link is in the description below for BitLab Academy. But we have Jeremiah here picking up Osmosis, Technique saying Render. He picked up Stacks, Tia, and Near. All beautiful products, in my opinion. Bags are now full. And he even has an exit strategy here for 7 to 12 months from now. So, yeah, my thoughts are kind of the same as the chat here is we have dropped 20, 30, 40, 50% on a lot of altcoins when we hit that range. And it was like, I'm dollar cost averaging. People are starting to get really, really bearish. Can we go lower? Of course. But what we're about to cover today, guys, especially with Johnny Deaton, there's so many bullish scenarios that can take place over the next 3 to 6 months that this could be a massive catalyst for what I will believe to be the greatest bull market we've ever seen. So I'm stoked.
I'm stoked as well. And, I bought Bitcoin. I DCA'd on Monday and I got Bitcoin and I felt pretty bad about it. But when I look at the 7-day return, and I know technically it's 5-day, so we could revisit this in a couple days here. But when you look at the 7-day, much better choice buying Bitcoin versus Ethereum, much better than almost every single coin you see right here, except for Tron. And you know what? When it comes to DCAing into Tron versus Bitcoin, I think I'm going to choose Bitcoin pretty much every time there. Nothing against the TRX ecosystem.
And my bad, Kelly, it's 30 days, not 30 months.
Oh, yeah. Thank you there. Yeah, 30-day free trial. 30-month would be pretty nice. But you said it, now you got to do it. All right, let's talk about the Silk Road Bitcoin haul to be sold off by U.S. authorities. A lot of people are going to try to fudge you and shake you out of the markets. Oh, it's going to go much lower, $130 million. There's no way we can offset that. Oh, wait. BlackRock offset that pretty easily there. So BlackRock is $2 billion. Guys, $130 million. With the games that are being played with the Bitcoin ETF, this is a drop in the bucket, and I just want to express that point there. But the U.S. District Court of Maryland has authorized an order to forfeit and sell the Bitcoin approximately worth $130 million. This came from the Silk Road online marketplace, specifically from the operators Ryan and Sean Bridges here. The legal framework allows for a period of petitioning before the government proceeds with the sale, thus ensuring that any parties unjustly affected can seek relief. So you get a little bit of time to appeal anything here. Last July, it moved $300 million worth after selling almost 10,000 coins in March. And then in November, they confiscated 50,000 Bitcoin valued at $1 billion at the time of their discovery. Now that's that's Jimmy, right?
Yeah, so the U.S. government guys, they've taken it and forfeit or confiscated hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin at this point. They are one of the largest, if not the largest holder in the entire world right now. Now, there's a lot of kind of FUD and panic that was taking place on Twitter. Not in the sense that hey, we can't deal with this. I think we're all numb to the fact. What Grayscale did to us is just going to make everything that the United States is about to do us feel way, way smoother. We're going to be just numb to the situation. But the overall outcome of this is over a decade process at this point. And they did not time the selling of the market right before the Bitcoin halving. It's all a very long legal process. And so it's not like the U.S. government can just come out and auction this off instantly. In fact, though, the last time they did auction off Bitcoin, they sold it at a higher price than it was actually on the market for to Tim Draper, I believe. He bought a ton of Bitcoin. Was at a low price, but he bought from a few dollars above the current market value. So we'll see what rolls off of this. But ultimately, like you just showed with BlackRock accumulating, Grayscale is starting to get kind of exhausted. And Mt. Gox is still questionable or not, whether or not they're actually going to be doing buybacks or it's going to be cash deposits going back to their investors and their creditors. So we could be seeing what was once FUD turn into a lot of bullish sentiment in these markets.
Yeah, and Draper's big auction purchase, he got it at a slight discount. It was like 5%. It's not as high as you might think. Did he get a discount? Very slight. It might even be like 2%. There was a slight discount. There was one order where it came in above retail, but that's a good point.
There was one that I was like, what is happening here? So yeah, it was a very interesting buyout there. We have my man coming in saying, what do you guys think about Shido? TA on it, please. Do you have any thoughts on Shido?
I've never heard of it. Probably a micro cap. I would check that. Anything with a market cap under 5 million and it's under a month old, TA is going to do jack diddly for, but that might not be the case with that coin.
One could say it's going to do Shido.
That is pretty good. But speaking of Shido, how about our U.S. debt situation? That feels pretty shido to me. Debt spirals past $34 trillion with interest forecasted to hit $3 trillion by 2030. This is a key metric we need to worry about. Our interest payments are going to be so absorbent. All right, right now we're $1 trillion in the deficit. All right, we run a deficit of roughly $1 trillion. I think 2023 is actually 1.7 trillion, but we'll round down for the current regime. We'll say, yeah, it's roughly $1 trillion. If we have just interest payments of $3 trillion, that is going to be very, very devastating for our economy here. But the annualized interest accompanies the steep climb on the federal debt that exceeds $1 trillion is projected to break through the $3 trillion threshold by Q4 2030. This it's a long time from now to Q4 2030. A lot can change, but it does seem like it seems to be a pretty scary trend once you see that little parabolic move to the upside. And then this line right here, this is the current date right now coming in right at 2024. So yeah, if this trend continues, buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin. I think that's my takeaway here. I see this and I see buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin.
I mean, I think we all can zoom out at that point. I did pull up Shido really quick because I just wanted to see and actually check it out just to give him a little bit more insight than just absolutely bashing on him here. But guys, the chart, $83 million market cap. It's actually not going to be as small.
That's a little bit bigger.
It's going to be bigger. It is newer. It launched in, it looks like early October here.
Okay, a little bit older than expected.
Really strong price action to the upside. Their volume is pretty, I would say that their volume, guys, in comparison to the market cap is going to be quite low. But this looks like it's going to be a project built on top of Cosmos using their SDK for interoperability. Okay. So another EVM smart contract protocol. It's going to have its DEXs. It's got 57 projects on it. I've never done a deep dive into this project yet. Obviously, it's new, and we've had dozens of projects launch over the last few months with modular systems, monolithic systems, whatever it is. So, I'll have to check it out. So thanks for pointing it out in the chat, brother.
Yeah, Faden, no longer a micro. I believe Adam Monsteron. Yeah, there's no longer a micro cap there.
And we do have 562 viewers, guys. So let's make sure we close that gap on the TA for us off from the stream here today, guys. We appreciate all the support. Make sure you guys are commenting below so you can enter the $100 giveaway, which we'll be doing at the end of the stream today. So make sure you guys don't miss out on that.
And if you're just joining, we bring you crypto news 7 days a week. We do a live stream here every Monday through Friday. And so go ahead, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Really helps us out. Helps the YouTube algorithm. Helps, potentially you retire early as well. That seems pretty good. But it's going to be hard to retire with this inflation battling us and taking away our wealth here. Core inflation as measured by the Fed's preferred index rose 0.17% in December as expected. This is a 6 month in the last 7 where monthly inflation is printed at a rate equal to or below the Fed's 2% target. Year over year, 2.9%. 6 month annualized, 3 month annualized, 1.9 and 1.5. So what are your thoughts? It seems like we're coming into a pretty soft landing with this 2% target.
Yeah, I think we have to be cautious with that. I think every time, one, never bet against the Fed, but two is never trust the Fed. So
that's exactly where I was gonna say. You said be cautious. You said, maybe don't trust. Do you think there's a potential that these numbers aren't entirely accurate?
You mean skewed?
Skewed, yeah. Is it skewed?
I think skewed's the perfect example with this. And this isn't any single specific administration, guys. This is just over the last 67 years. These administrations and these, agencies tend to mold the definitions of what a recession might be, or what actual unemployment is, or what true employment, whatever it is. They'll start bouncing numbers around and skewing them to make themselves look better. It's just like what every American is doing on the resumes, right? Like, oh, I was a top tier sales manager at one of the largest Fortune 500 companies. Like, oh, you did sales for, a small car lot. It's like they try to hype up that, you know what I mean?
Well, Hendrick Motors is, 498 on the S&P 500. You're like, okay, I guess technically you're right.
I was my own boss. It's like, well, I did door-to-door sales, and that's a true story, right? So
I actually have a claim to fame. I was middle manager in a Fortune 500 company. I believe they still are. ADT. I did home security.
Okay.
I climbed up.
You were my competitor that was going door to door with me. I had to show up an hour before you to make sure you guys didn't knock on my doors.
We had a little pitch. Hey, you put this sign in your yard and we'll give you a system for free. Now, if I gave you a free ADT system, you'd use it, wouldn't you? And then that was my whole sales pitch.
They weren't like, you're going to watch us for free?
Speaking of watching, if I gave you a cell phone, you would want that cell phone to work. So think of it the same way. If I gave you a Lamborghini, you'd want to put gasoline in it. I'm giving you a free system. You just got to turn it on. It's only like $20-$30 a month. And then it'd be like $39.99. But
that's exactly what's happening with these numbers.
It would be 20 if it was like a single white trailer.
Yeah,
though.
so that's what I expect coming out of the Federal Reserve or any of the people like Janet Yellen when she comes out and say, inflation's going to be transitory. So when you see these expenditures and these price indexes and everything, guys, there's going to be a lot of conversation now around, okay, what does this mean for rate cuts moving into March or Q2 or Q3 of this year? And now there's a lot more people. If we pull up the Fed Watch tool, so let's go to Fed Watch tool. I'm going to pull this up with you guys if you've never used this.
So this is going to be a very small screwdriver, and it allows you to change the springs and pulleys and stuff in the sockets or whatever.
Close. Yeah, it's going to let us adjust and see how much how much money you're allowed to print or not.
Federal Rates Watch tool.
Yes, exactly. So see, I'm here, guys. So there are more people starting to anticipate that at this next meeting, or actually in March. So, not even looking from logistics here, but from March, that we're going to see, it's a 50%, I believe now, that market is anticipating for a Fed rate cut taking place in less than 60 days. So that is something we're going to want to pay attention to just over the coming months. But again, when you're looking at the numbers from the feds or the government, just know that you really want to do your own research and make sure you're anticipating this properly. This is also why you have every single analyst, guys. This isn't just people on YouTube or people on TikTok talking about this. This is like your Bloomberg analyst. This is your people on Fox News, Yahoo Finance, your world's largest hedge funds, all bashing against each other. No, the US dollar is going to collapse. No, we're going to pivot early. Oh, no, the dollar is going to go up. Oh, they're going to actually raise interest rates one more time. There's going to be a lot of confusion around this as we move into the election cycle. Yeah,
if anyone could 100% predict macro environments, they'd be a trillionaire. And so, it doesn't, every now and then someone will get something right once, Michael Burry. But then, you watch a track record over decades, just be happy with your 5-10% annual gains.
Hey guys, I have a question from Chris Anderson in the chat. Question, is there a date BSC wallet will stop working because no one updates in migration to Trust Wallet, or does it just become less secure over time without updates?
I would not worry about a BSC wallet not working because of no updates and migration. Honestly, it depends on the wallet. I mean, are you using a particular wallet and it's just like they haven't tweeted on their socials or done any kind of upgrade in 18 months? I mean, if the writing's on the wall there, I would feel pretty comfortable just going to a new crypto wallet. At the end of the day, it's probably a pretty good move.
You can do that. Like, let's just say, I'm not saying any of these wallets have a problem. Let's say Atomic Wallet says they're not going to support BSC. You should be able to just take your seed phrase and input your seed phrase into another wallet, and then
import that wallet to a new hardware wallet. Yep. All right, good stuff there. All right, I need the economy crushed, so others need to pay me in crypto. And the name fits, New World Disorder. That would say the name fits. All right, well, speaking of the new world and the globalists, the elites, UK wants to track you. UK government, they say they are treading carefully on digital pound. They say they're going to prioritize privacy and cash access. They've underlined certain criteria for a possible digital currency launch here. And they said proceeding cautiously According to the response issued to the Treasury Committee, they emphasize no final decision has been reached regarding the launch, and adding that its officials are still exploring the feasibility and designs of a CBDC and seeing how far they can box you in before you say, I'm no longer going to be willing to stay in the box. So they're going to try to make the box as small as possible. Some people are going to have sharp elbows. They're going to want to break out of the box. They're definitely going to try to constrict you, surveil you, freeze your funds. I think all these are worries. So just be careful. Oh, no, we're going to prioritize privacy. I don't buy that for one stinking second. That's just my personal take here.
Yeah, I would never trust a centralized agency that's not going to be open source. It's a trust me, bro scenario again. And everybody continuously falls for this over and over and over again. Guys, you give them an inch, they take a mile. That is how governments work. That's how these elitists work. When you give them any amount of your data or the control over how they're going to spend you and information, they don't look at us as I'm going to say it this way. They don't look at us as humans and just an everyday neighbor. They look at you as a 1 or 0 on a spreadsheet. And if they can make more ones than zeros on that spreadsheet, they're going to. And so that's how I just look at it with these CBDCs. It's going to be more efficient. They're going to be able to surveil us more. They're going to be able to tax us easier. There's a lot of things that they can do with this, even freeze our bank accounts like we saw with Canada.
And why are we making these assumptions? With the citizen, I say innocent until proven guilty. But with the corporation and with the government, I say guilty until proven innocent. And I think if you just have paid any attention in the last 2 years, you'll see, oh yeah, that's definitely the better method. And that's the filter I put on.
We just had 26 billion accounts leaked from Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Telegram, every platform you've ever used. You were probably affected by this. That's why I told everybody, change your passwords, get that 2FA now. That was what we were talking about yesterday. And it's normal now. People would just go, okay.
Bob from accounting. I have Charles Barkley NBA elbows. For those who don't know, the round mound. Here's a normal NBA rebound. Here's a Charles Barkley rebound.
Go more towards the center, yeah. Oh yeah.
Whoa! Play it down.
That's a normal Barkley rebound. All right, I acted that one out for you for the NBA fans right there. Is it all rigged? We don't know. All right, speaking of rigged, we have another bad crypto statistics, bad crypto data. On-chain crypto users grew by 62 million. That is a record in 2023. And then we did a little bit of math. It was 4 nerds spinning up multiple Solana wallets trying to get meme coin airdrops. But we did pick up 5.6 million Solana addresses. Ethereum got 15 million addresses. And what is compared to them? What do they say is an active user right here? They have the metric here. It is most successful year for attracting users. And then they define a user as someone that used a blockchain address which initiated a second transaction in 2023. Hit that like button, raise your hand in the room. Do you have more than 10 crypto addresses?
I don't want to raise my hand, but I know everybody's got 100. And honestly, if you're doing NFTs, airdrops, trading cryptos, well, one, if you're using multiple different chains, you're already going to have 10. I mean, there's definitely 10 different chains that I have alone from wallets. But then you're using NFTs. You're going to have free airdrop NFTs, free NFTs. You're going to have, we can go, the list goes on, probably 30, 40 different MetaMask wallets. Mm-hmm. It's, I don't know.
So if you see 10 million users added, what's the real number of human beings? It is less than 10 million for sure.
Which is bullish, because then that makes you realize when these numbers come out and they're like, hey, yeah, there's 100 million users in crypto. It's like, well, actually, it's a lot smaller of a number. So in terms of adoption scale, guys, we are very early to all of this. It's only going to advance more and more. And when you see the amount, if we actually had 100 million users on the market today, the amount of transactions, the amount of wallets that would be set up would be in the billions. It'd be in the dozens of billions.
Laserface, get this man an Oscar. Let's see. Can I do another Charles Barkley impression? What was he famous for saying, Nick? I am not your role model. I think that was his famous line from the 90s.
You've seen his interactions with Shaq?
Yes.
Shaq is just an absolute national treasure. He must be protected at all costs.
Yeah, the Shaquille O'Neal, he's an interesting individual, but a little bit of a wuss when it comes to spicy food, as evidenced by his Hot Ones appearance and his Pocky One Chip Challenge.
I've actually met Shaquille O'Neal before.
Really? Contacts, real quick, and then we're going to jump into the John Deaton interview.
Yes. 1 minute until John Deaton comes on. So I was working a gig at the Jimmy V Foundation dinner in Raleigh, North Carolina. And there was a whole bunch of people there. Stuart Scott was there. That's how long ago this was.
Wow.
Yes,
Stuart Scott
was
throwback
there.
Sports Center analyst from the 90s.
And I got to meet Stuart Scott. Anyways, You could, when Shaq entered the room, I didn't see him, but just all the energy, everyone went really quiet. And I was like, what's going on? But I'm like running a camera with Stuart Scott. And then everyone started talking and everyone started moving over. And I thought there was like some type of fire alarm or something was pulled. No, everyone just went to Shaq. I let him do his interviews. He was shaking people's hands. He goes, hey man, you're doing a really good job. And he came and he put his hand out and shook my hand. And just my hand just was engulfed. It was like he could have picked me up by my head and like thrown me across the room.
Probably. If you ever see him stand next to his wife, you just like, how does this work as a physics, as a biological issue? Yeah. Someone said, do the impression for Barkley, which says terrible. That's terrible. Terrible. 3 cold, 10 hot ones. Did he pat you on your head? How could you not see him? Good stuff right there. Terrible.
All right, let's get into it, guys.
All right, let's get right into the interview. We have famous crypto lawyer John Deaton joining us today. John Deaton, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Mo?
I'm doing fantastic. John, I just want to give people a little bit of exposition here. For those who haven't really followed closely exactly what's happening with the SEC versus Coinbase, and maybe they don't have a law degree, can you explain just what is this lawsuit about and why is it so important?
Well, they need to put into context the following. In 2021, Coinbase asked to go public, and the SEC had to make a determination. Coinbase said, not only do we want to go public and become a publicly traded company and be the largest exchange in the United States, we want to do it faster. We want the SEC to place it on what's called acceleration. And in order to do that, the SEC must sit back and think, is this in the public's best interest to allow this acceleration? And guess what? The SEC said, yes, we think that it is in the public's best interest to grant an accelerated IPO to Coinbase. Then you fast forward 2 years later, and the SEC files a case against Coinbase and says the entire business model is illegal. So that's the context that everyone has to understand. Why would the SEC grant a registration, accelerate it, bless it, and then 2 years later turn around and say, oh no, all the assets that you're trading that we knew you were going to be trading, they're all illegal, unregistered securities. And so it's a huge significance. If Coinbase is successful, then it's game over for the SEC.
Yeah, so, what does this mean for the overall altcoins that the SEC has been targeting? I mean, they've kind of pivoted their decisions on what's happening in this market nonstop, back and forth. Almost every single week they have a new idea or thought on the entire market. So when you're looking at the altcoins that they've now said pretty much everything other than Bitcoin is not or is a security, how do they approach this with the lawsuit? What does this mean for altcoins if the SEC somehow does win this case against them?
Well, it would be absolute devastating news. Now, we need to say, obviously, this is a federal district court case. So there are appeals. If Coinbase wins, the SEC can appeal it. If the SEC wins, then, of course, the Coinbase can appeal it. But the precedent that it would set, if the judge were to say, yes, these tokens, we're talking about Cardano, Solana, we're talking about major cap altcoins. If the SEC is successful and the judge agrees and says, yeah, they're all unregistered securities, then basically everything is an unregistered security. Now, ETH is in a very kind of special place, and I'll tell you why. You're right. Gary Gensler in the SEC has said everything but Bitcoin essentially is a security. But the SEC has already granted ETH futures contracts. So there exists today, just like there used to be Bitcoin futures ETFs, there exist ETH future ETFs. And so BlackRock has already submitted for a spot ETH ETF, and it's going to be delayed, no doubt, because the SEC already delayed it. But most people think the conventional wisdom is that ETH will get a spot ETF eventually because they'll just sue the SEC the way Grayscale did over the spot Bitcoin ETF. But you're right. As of right now, everything except Bitcoin, according to the SEC, is an unregistered security. And it would be devastating. You'd see a complete collapse, I think. I'm not a price guy. You guys know that shit more than I do. Sorry for the language. But it would be devastating.
I would agree. So we have Bitcoin has a little bit of a unique distinction. Ethereum has a little bit of a unique distinction. Are there any other altcoins on your radar that might serve as an outlier, whether it's favorable or unfavorable? Can you see XRP or a Solana, maybe bucking the trend where Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe a third or fourth altcoin is, listed as unique?
Well, XRP is already in that unique status because the judge actually wrote XRP in and of itself is not a security. So if you also note that the Coinbase case did not list XRP as one of those tokens that they were claiming as an unregistered security, even though they had already done that in Ripple. So as of right now, guys, XRP is the only token that has judicial clarity as far as the token itself. Bitcoin, obviously, with the spot ETF, that's a foregone conclusion. That's always going to be an outlier and have its own distinction, special place. XRP has this judicial clarity, if you will. It hasn't really translated in price, but it certainly is in a unique position compared to the others. Cost Ripple $200 million, and of course XRP holders and our 76,000 people that joined had a big part of that success.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge breakthrough too. And, I kind of have a thought on I want to get your thoughts on the outcome of this. Let's say Coinbase does take the win on this. I know you've put out percentages between 40 to 50% that I've seen. I don't know if those have adjusted, over the last few days. I think that was a pretty recent interview. But, if Coinbase does come out on top on this, does this make them essentially stronger than the SEC? Because it's not going to prevent them from listing future altcoins. And if they have now this regulatory clarity out of this lawsuit and win against them in, like you said, a federal court, does that mean they're going to be creating this Coinbase effect, essentially, where any project that gets listed on this not only gets that clarity, is now on a publicly traded company, and that can obviously have a pretty significant effect on these altcoins?
Oh, that's an outstanding point. It really is, because if you're a traditional finance guy and you want exposure to crypto, a lot of people are going to say, just go with Coinbase. Obviously, Coinbase is the custodian for a lot of these spot ETFs, so they have that niche. But you're 100% correct. If Coinbase wins, for example, if the judge were to say that the tokens themselves are not securities and that Coinbase as an intermediary, they're not an issuer, there's the blind bid-ask transaction, it's just an asset sell, it's not a security sell. If that were to be the outcome of this decision, it really would put Coinbase in a massive regulatory advantage. And you're right, any token thereafter that would sort of get the Coinbase blessing, which already has judicial blessing. And so it would have a cascading kind of bootstrapping effect. And so that's a great point.
I want to ask one more question about XRP. We recently had IPO rumors starting to circulate, but recently they have taken a step back saying, well, we don't want to pursue any kind of IPO at the given time due to the regulatory environment. If we get someone to replace Gensler in the next year or two, do you see those IPO sands starting to shift? And what are your thoughts on a Ripple IPO or Ripple Labs IPO potential?
Yeah, I think Ripple, you're right. Ripple took it off the table as far as 2024. If Gensler were to somehow resign, which I don't foresee, but if for some reason the political pressure became too much, he became a political liability in an election year and he stepped away. And then you got a new chairman who then came in immediately with hey, this is a new sheriff in town and we're going to work with entrepreneurs. We're not going to have such an anti-crypto platform or policy. Then I could see potentially Ripple coming back to the table. But you have to understand, they're still in the fight. Ripple's in the penalty phase of the case, which means the judge has to decide how much do they have to pay. Remember, this isn't a fraud case. This is just, hey, you technically violated this 1936 law, even though we're in 2024, and you have to pay a fine. Whether that fine is 100 million or 10 million, I don't know, but they're actively still arguing. There's no indication of there's going to be a settlement between the SEC and Ripple. So therefore, they still have that uncertainty what investors are going to be, hey, well, Ripple's going to be fined $1 billion. It's just not an environment that any reasonable CEO would take to the market with an IPO. It's too much of a dark cloud. Once that dark cloud is erased, there's a settlement, Ripple gets fined $10 million, Brad Garlinghouse writes a check, then the next day the IPO is back on the table.
All right, well, speaking of Ripple, I want to put a Ripple through the New York Times bestseller list. Check out brassknucklebooks.com. John has a book out, folks, so make sure you go check that out. But speaking of policy, you said the situation that's happening in Texas at the border between the Texas National Guard and the federal agents is the most important thing happening in the nation at the moment. Well, this morning, we have a trucker convoy heading to the southern border. Do you see a similar situation happening in America that happened in Canada? Do you think it's possible that Biden will freeze bank accounts of these protesting truckers?
I mean, that would be political suicide, in my opinion. Listen, you're assuming that Biden's calling the shots. I don't make that assumption. If someone were to do that, though, at this point in time, I just would see that as political suicide in an election year. But there's no doubt that the border situation has reached a level that is mind-boggling. I mean, I actually am fearful that we're going to see Texas agents versus, federal agents. What if someone, draws a gun? I mean, are we going to have American versus American, fighting on the southern border? It really is an unfortunate situation. And unfortunately, we don't have the political leadership that we need in this country.
Yeah, well, Raytheon will be right there to sell all the weapons to us. So it's going to be bullish on those stocks for the chat listening in. But no, jokes aside, guys. But, so a lot of people don't care about politics, but at the end of the day, politics, they care about all of us in here. So I'm very curious to kind of get your thoughts on just the retail side of this. You led 70,000 XRP, or a huge part of that, in, kind of fighting against the SEC early on in the last bull run for our rights, really just the natural right to be able to trade these assets and stand up against a regulatory body that was just enforcing policies that were quite unconstitutional. So from that perspective, what can a retail audience, the average Joe, do looking up to, or just look for up in anticipation of this new election cycle, which I'm not going to say president, but administration is really going to benefit them more? Is it going to be coming down to the votes for them, or is it going to be actually standing up and being a part of a lawsuit that attacks the SEC and Gary Gensler for market manipulation of one of the most atrocious launches of a financial product I've ever seen? What can we do just to help out?
Well, one, listen, I'll make a plug to my crypto law, which I don't have sponsors. I don't make any money, but I have a Connect to Congress tab. You just put in your address, takes 30 seconds, and you can draft a letter it'll go straight to your two senators and your House representative. Right now we have it plugged, asking Patrick McHenry, who's the chairman of the FSC in the Congress, to actually issue the subpoena that he was threatening, and he writes all these letters. And basically our programmed letter basically says, issue the damn subpoena, which were records of SBF and Gary Gensler and other documents that the SEC must overturn. Listen, we have to fight government intrusion whenever it comes. And we have to also avoid a nanny state. People have a right to determine what is in their family's best interest. If they want to own Bitcoin, own Bitcoin. You want to own XRP, own XRP. The SEC should be focused on the Sam Bankman-Frieds or the Alex Machinskys and Celsius or the Do Kwons and the fraud cases. Focus your attention on that, because there is fraud in crypto, and there has been. But as far as assets that people want to have exposure to, we have a right to this. America. I mean, you should have the freedom to say, you know what? I can't stand the fact that you're just printing money all day, and I'm going to own Bitcoin because whether it's a good investment or not, I believe it is a hedge against the debasement of the U.S. dollar. Regular people should have that access. And what I would encourage people to do is fight the accredited investor rule, which to me is the most abhorrent rule ever in financial markets. You could be a Marine or a soldier in the Army. You could serve your country. You could lose a limb. You could lose your life, but you can't have pre-IPO shares. of any company because you don't have $1 million excluding your home, or you don't make $250,000 a year for 3 years in a row. And so I just think that it is time as citizens that we speak up, and it can make a difference. There's some people out there that say, hey, you can never make a difference. The 75,000 XRP holders, we submitted affidavits. The judge cited those affidavits in her decision. And so Naomi Brockwell allowed me to go in to speak in the library case for her and other LBC holders. The judge cited that hearing. So your participation can make a difference. In this election, I'm not going to get political, but freedom is on the line. And so I'd ask you to consider that when you're making your election choice.
Yeah, Brockwell, fantastic resource when it comes to freedom. And you say you don't want to make it political. Well, I'm going to drag you back into the arena because you brought up FTX. You brought up Sam Bankman-Fried, or Scam Bankman-Fried, everyone's accounts there. If we get a new administration, do you think there'll be any follow-up, any kind of investigation in some of the political donations? Or are both sides dirty and both sides want to sweep it under the rug?
The latter. Both sides, in my opinion, have been dirty. We live in the corruption era, guys. And if you go back in time, you'd have to go back to the late 1800s to what was called the Gilded Age, when there were like open bribes and kickbacks going on in Congress. And that's how bad it is. I mean, think about the chairman of the FDA is the chairman of the FDA on Friday. On Monday, he's a board member of Pfizer. You've got Hinman goes to A16Z and they help him write the speech. And now he's a partner with the guys that helped him write the speech, you know, while he was making millions and millions from his law firm while he was at the SEC. Jay Clayton dropped an investigation against Apollo Group after Jared Kushner got a huge $100 million deal. And then Jay Clayton is named a board member of Apollo Group as soon as he leaves the SEC. And so whether you're Republican or a Democrat, they're all corrupt. They all need to go. Term limits need to be instituted, in my opinion. And we need to start having statutory bars. If you work at the FDA, you can't go work for the pharmaceutical companies that you were just regulating. If you work at the SEC, you can't just go to Wall Street and work for the company that you were just regulating. And so we have to institute that kind of ethics back in our government.
Yeah, it's a blackmailocracy for sure.
We have, you can start anywhere, whether it's Jamie Dimon or Larry Fink from BlackRock for saying years is money laundering index. Our politicians are the world's greatest traders and call it a free market, even though they have inside access and knowledge to their committees. The amount of corruption is at an all-time at this point. So I have to straight up ask you, just moving into this election cycle, then we're going to pull you in the ringer here. What is a better administration moving forward for crypto then? Is it going to be, I'm not going to make it as a left or right issue. It's just, which administration are we focusing on and how do we anticipate the outlook for the crypto in the United States?
Well, I think when the incumbent administration isn't working, you get rid of them. And so that's my position. I've been a registered Democrat, a registered Republican, and a registered independent during my life. But the bottom line is right now you have Elizabeth Warren has a bill that I call it the bankers ban on Bitcoin bill, right? She calls it the anti-money laundering bill. Effectively, it is a ban on self-custody in the United States. It's a ban on Bitcoin, a ban on crypto, and 20% of the U.S. Senate is on board with this bill. It was written by the bankers. Jamie Dimon is the chairman of the Banking Institute, and they were the ones that wrote the bill. And we know that. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Because Senator Marshall stood up at a luncheon or something and said, yeah, Senator Warren and I, the first thing we did was go to the bankers and say, can you write this bill? And so when you have the administration literally saying we want to end crypto in the United States, I think the choice is being made. Now, there are other issues, but if you are someone who says, I have the right to own an asset that I deem good for me and my family and my life, you shouldn't be prevented from it. And so that's my position on who should be the next, who should win the election.
I couldn't agree more, John. I think the perfect way to kind of wrap this up then would just be, what is your 5-year outlook on this industry? How can we vote for you when you run for Congress and take on these people? But yeah, what are you just anticipating in the markets this year then, and just wrapping up into the next 2 to 3 years? What does that look like in your terms of crypto adoption in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think that the election is very, I'm ultimately a bull because you can't ban crypto. You guys know that. I know that. You can make it very much difficult. But I will tell you that, if the election were to go a certain way, then you could see Senator Warren's bill being basically approved on some level. You could actually face some kind of issue. It would be in the courts and it would go up to the Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court would ultimately win, but it could be a rough 4 or 5 years in the United States. And so a lot is on stake. Ultimately, though, I'm an optimist at heart, and I believe that we'll be successful. I believed strongly the judge would side for XRP holders, and she did. And so I have faith in our judicial system. It's imperfect, but I have faith in it. So I think that 5 years from now, people are going to does that mean 20,000 tokens, guys, are going to be successful? No. But I think that the major platforms, if it does solve a problem, I think there's going to be the utility era. And when the utility era takes effect as opposed to the speculation era, then I think there's going to be reason to be positive in the market.
Yeah, and 5 years should be 2 bull run tops from now, going off the 4-year cycle. So hopefully 5 years from now, we're all feeling pretty good. But John, we're feeling great that you joined us. It was a pleasure talking to you. We bring up your statements, your articles. You're always quoted in all these crypto publications. It was just great putting a face to the name here, John.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one. Everybody stay safe out there.
And we will vote for you. You let us know when. I'm supporting you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
I'm in the John party now. Great guest right there. You most commonly see him, talking about XRP legal issues, SEC legal issues. It was great to just get his insight and, hear what he had to say.
Yeah, I would never have thought either. When I first came into the crypto market, 2 years ago, I was an XRP maximalist, and every part of that lawsuit, I was part of that affidavit, everything. I was like in that community. And that was very, very early on in 2021 after we saw what happened in December of 2020. And so really cool just to see that, like, this full circle, 2-3 years later, they actually got to put a face to the name there.
John's awesome. A good guy. No nonsense, straight to the point. I 100% would vote for that guy if he did run for office in Georgia.
So let's make sure, guys, we get some likes coming in. Hit the W's in the chat. Spam some W, John, +1 John.
And we have his Twitter linked at the very top of the chat there if you want to check out his content there.
I did want to hop into, we have a little bit here. I'm going to run through it really quick because there is a big green candle. We're at 41,600. We're getting a bit of a bounce in this market here. I'm not going to pull in all the trading view and everything because we are getting that bounce here. And so what we want to watch is if we close this weekly above these zones, it's going to be about the 41,500, I believe, or 42,000. That could mean we actually saw a local bottom there. And maybe Grayscale was that bottoming. Maybe they are getting exhausted in that price action. And a lot of that fear that people are anticipating to push us lower, well, it may not end up coming. So what I want to point out here is going to be the liquidations. You guys know I love these charts. I teach this in our BitLab Academy. This is the easiest way, in my opinion, to just read charts in the future. And guys, all you got to look at, okay, we're not going to make this complicated. It is just the brighter the color of the line, the heavier support or resistance it's going to be. So if there's a bright yellow line underneath you, prices do like to pull towards that, but it acts as support. And if it's above you, it acts as resistance. And so this is on the 1 month here. What I want to pull up is the 7-day because this changes everything in the game right now. We are starting to get a lot more liquidations that we did not have last week above 45K again. We came up to the zone where we're at right now, 41,700, but we're setting up a significant amount again at that 38,400. So if we even come back down to 38.5 and you're hoping to get lucky at that range, I'd be, very cautious in seeing what we saw at the 30,000 levels. I don't know, guys, if you remember this, but when we bounced at, I think it was 25K or 28K was one of the ranges before we moved up this initial rally. When we came down to that price action, it was a double bottom. We came down, everybody said, nope, this is it. We're going to go to 20K. It bounced. Then it came back down like, nope, this is it. We're going to go to 20K. Then it bounced. And so that is what I'm going to be really watching out moving into the next few days, next few weeks. And overall, guys, I'm just extremely bullish on the market. So I want to do the summary here because we're about to move into the rest of news articles. We're going to go through these pretty quick. But we still have 3 more reasons on why this could potentially be a Bitcoin super cycle. Now, we covered out of the 5, technically 3 with John Deaton. So that was awesome. But we'll do a summary at the end for you guys and explain, and I'll give you my price predictions on some of these altcoins and Bitcoin moving into the cycle.
All right. We do have, like you said, we have a couple articles to run through. I was just checking those charts because you are right. It is pumping, everybody. If we just pull that up. The 3-minute breaking the screen. I was looking at it earlier, and all right, keep going up. Army Piper, super chat. Great guys. You are doing great. This is how you build back better. We love building back better here. And this is John Deaton's book right here, Food Stamp Warrior. Hit that like button if you ever ate food off food stamps. I know I was a recipient of food stamps when I was a child. All right, bankers switching to crypto careers for higher salaries and industry growth. Salaries in crypto startups almost double those of banking comparable positions. Folks, this will double again in the next 12 months because we're just now getting into a bull run. I think we all feel that way. It's a good departure from what were all the other job listing articles of the last 12, 15 months.
Yeah. I mean,
layoffs.
A test that we should take on Twitter right now is like, do you have FOMO? Do you think you missed the bottom? I'm sure you see that meter stick kind of being pulled to the 60, 70%.
Yeah. And it's just good that we're going from a 60% reduction in headforce, 15% laid off, 1,000 people fired. And now we're starting to see the other direction. So the winds are starting to shift here. Speaking of shifty billionaire, FTX linked billionaire Joe Lewis pled guilty to 19 fraud charges in the U.S. He was known for owning the Premier League football club, and he pled guilty to 19 charges related to insider trading in the United States. His problem, he wasn't a congressperson, everybody. If he was a senator or a House of Representative member, he wouldn't have had this issue. And so that's his fault. That's his fault for not having some sort of comptroller position in like Wyoming or something. Looks like he sold $76 million worth of property in the Bahamas to Sam Bankman-Fried, and then acknowledged his involvement in a scheme to benefit his friends and associates there. He pled one guilty to conspiracy to commit securities frauds right there. So bad actors. Hey, John said, it's imperfect, but I have a little bit of faith in the judicial system. And when you see an article like this, it gives you a little bit of faith as well. So good job, the authorities, at least on that one. We do have a funny story, but go ahead, Josh.
Oh, no, it's going to move to the next Beam article. So if you got a funny story, I'd love to hear it.
Well, Algo CEO, he fell victim to a Twitter hack. A lot of people, Algo, it's Cassius Cuvée. He had a pretty cool song about it.
Let me check up the price action too on this. I wonder if it will still be the, Yep. It's still the stable coin. If we look over the last 7 days, let's go over the last month. That's actually draining a little bit here. Algorand is what it is. We don't need to go into the conversation on it, but that is unfortunate, guys. Be very careful and cautious of, yes, even the CEOs of these companies can get hacked. So make sure you're not clicking on it.
You want to hear a crazy conspiracy theory here? You know who hacked him? The Clintons. The Clintons hacked him. And now, bear with me. I got a theory for you. Buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride. You ever see the theory that Taylor Swift made her debut at an NFL game at the Jets game? And Nick, do you know why she made her debut at the Jets game? Because if you Google Taylor Swift Jets, it would be nothing but how her private jets use all these emitting carbon, tons of carbon. But then if you Google Taylor Swift Jets, it's all football stuff, NFL stuff. So now you type in Algorand scam, Algorand controversy. Maybe this is going to replace the previous Google results, which were, Clinton Foundation linked to Algo.
Algorand scam. But let me type in, let's even see what happened. Algorand.
Controversy.
Clinton.
Yeah, Clinton, there's the CSIWA. It's a foundation in Southeastern Asia Women's Association or something like that. And it's an Indian.
Interesting.
It's just a joke. I don't think it's real, folks. It's just a fun theory. It's a fun theory. Well, Hillary hacked them.
I don't even know if Hillary knows how to use an iPhone, but
she knows how to delete emails.
That was good. You could walk out on that one. I got the rest of the show. Good job. That is +1 in the chats all day, dude. All day. But Beam Wallet, guys, here brings Amazon and Shopify purchases to users. So Beam, I did pull it up. I wanted to pull it up on CoinGecko really quick. It's sitting at about an $800 million market cap here and has been a top performer, a top contender here. It launched in about mid-October. It's another one of those new projects. But this chart even as well, starting to look like it could be just kind of primed to move to the upside again. But this is big. So Beam Wallet has acquired the Join, which is an app that allows users to shop and pay with stable coins anywhere. The acquisition allows Beam Wallet users to shop online at Amazon and Shopify, among other merchants, and pay using stablecoins. Beam has announced early access with the rollout expected in February. So big announcement coming out for Beam here. This is a massive acquisition and could be good for price action moving up towards the bull run.
Speaking of bull run, this ETH story right here, they discussed the post-Dencun proposals. I'm not going to get into the weeds here because we covered this on a video about 10 days ago, talk about what the upgrade's going to do with the price. A lot of people are expecting, it's going to fall, definitely going to fall. Let me just point something out to you. Last time ETH had a major upgrade, it made history making multiple green candles in a row. Ended up breaking this. It broke the record at 13 green candles because this was the London hard fork upgrade. And then they said, once the upgrade goes live, that's when it dumps. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Buy the rumor, sell the news. The upgrade happened. It continued to pump for another week. 14 green candles is the record. It's going to stop now. Happen again. Another green candle. I think it went all the way near 20. So just if be careful with buy the rumor, sell the news on that.
I was talking with Johnny about this, and I think this is a long-term play to pull it off of Lido and get more of it on actual validate.
Okay.
Now whales can actually put a lot of their ETH onto a validator instead of having to park it on Lido.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It increased the cap, not the minimum.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So you're not, some billionaire, they don't want to spin up 87 Ethereum nodes. Yep. They can just do it all at once. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I pulled up the green candles right here. I think it was this level right there, and it just set off. It just kept going, kept running. I think it was right here. Oh, it's over, and then went up for about another week, flat, and then continued to go up. So just be careful. If everyone's telling you to sell because of this Ethereum upgrade, I would be cautious with that move. That's all I'm going to say there.
Yeah, no, I'd have to 100% agree with that. This just goes into I can't wait to show these articles. I want to get to them really quick. Guys, this is the most bullish bull run we've ever seen. There's nothing that compares to this, but the lawsuits that we've been winning, the Bitcoin spot ETF, the fact that an Ethereum ETF is right around the corner, as Johnny Deaton just mentioned. We have Hong Kong having terrible issues, guys. China has been collapsing, and I mean collapsing. They're now starting to have to pump their own money into their ecosystem and their economy, and this is actually forcing their retailers to not trust the yen. Who would have thought, guys? The Chinese yen had no value to it and is going to continuously just crash and burn. The price action and the purchasing of Bitcoin, banned Bitcoin. Yes, it's illegal in China. They banned it in 2021. Is now seeing a reversal, and we're even getting some big announcements out of there. So stay tuned. Smash that like button because we're going to get to it in 2 seconds. But 21 billion, guys. 21 trillion. Top AI, 21 billion. Yeah, 21 billion. Top AI crypto market cap spikes.
2.1.
2.1. Thank you. Top AI crypto market cap spikes by 21% in 24 hours.
There's two 21s in the
same. Like, can you read?
Yeah, 21 million Bitcoin. He is 21 years. No, he's not.
Dang, we're ageism, man.
Ageism.
Really?
It's okay if you go in that direction.
Really?
Right? I think that's how it works.
Aren't you 50? No,
there you go. There
jumps
you go.
by 21%. Market
the
cap
hairline of a 50-year-old. Mr. S, we're not ignoring your comment. FTX claimants are being shafted. We talked about this in the past when it was first discovered. If those who don't know, if you lost say you had 1 Bitcoin on FTX, you're not going to get a Bitcoin back. You're going to get the fiat value, which was $2,000 from the bottom. And so they're going to, instead of getting $41,000, they're going to give you $17,000 and be like, oh, that's what Bitcoin cost back then. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's very, very terrible. We're very against it. And trust me, if it went the other direction, like, Bitcoin started dropping, they would say, oh, no, we're giving you Bitcoin's price today. They're just going to do whatever gives them the most money. People are going to fight that. And yeah, it's not something to ignore. We're not ignoring it. We just covered it in the past is all.
Are you saying they're corrupted?
We were just trying to say the judicial system's like the last bastion.
Believe in it.
But there's corruption up and down everywhere, folks. But speaking of corrupt, what's the most corrupt entity out there? Probably the IRS is certainly going to be up there. Avoid the IRS, Johnny Taxman, coming after you. And we got something really, really cool I wanted to share with you. Decrypted.tax. We were just talking to the guy. He only has 4 calls left for next week. He'll give you a free 1-hour consultation. For all of next week, there's only 4. I think it's worth hundreds of dollars. We'll check again on Monday. Maybe there'll be some left. I would hurry up and get that consultation in because all of next week, there's only 4 left. There's only 4 left. We got 87,000 people watching. Those 4 are going to be gone quick. I would jump in. We got the link. We just put it up in the chat there.
Yeah, we on top of this, guys. We got Manta token now surging 16,000% to $220, only to tank 99% to 1 minute layer. So this looks like there was a flash price action on Manta's protocol. Manta token chart showing concentrated sell volume on January 18th. So generally when you see these, okay, I'm not even gonna have to go into this too far because we see this a lot as an XRP holder. We'd see it flash up to like, some ridiculous price action. We're like, oh, is this showing us the future? It's like, no, sometimes it's just markets and it's issues with book orders that just cause these fluctuations. Next
it's
up,
$3.21. I do think it's going to hit pretty close to $4 there.
Oh, for Manta?
That's my price prediction.
I think Manta is going to do really well.
I think short term before we see a pullback, cool down, accumulation period, $4. And then there's a lot of TVL is going to be pulled out of the ecosystem in March. I think it'll pull back down, and then I think you can get in cheaper.
Yeah.
That's my Mana prediction right there if you want a little Mana alpha. Masari, I saw you pull up the Masari crypto report here. They got a new report on H-bar for the barbarians, the phantoms, the people who like to wear a mask and play piano, and B&B. Is that a... No.
That's all right.
I try to do a literary reference for
the
Nick.
B&B, business to business sales. Like, I don't know where you're going to go with that one.
No, I was just going more on the Zorro or Phantom of the Opera reference. But 164, all right, so H-bar transaction volume increase 6 quarters in a row. I would say that's pretty good. The consensus service account 99% of all transactions. Okay, so this is similar to a Solana situation where consensus is counting as activity. And it looks like the consensus for H-bar is 99% of the work there.
Of the network.
Yeah, TVL, $64 million. You're probably going to want it a little bit higher than that. FTM here, Phantom, circulating market value is up 140% compared to the previous quarter. I would say that's pretty good. And BNB chain, 32 million transactions in one day, averaging 4.6 average daily for the fourth quarter. This is an increase of 30% to the previous quarter. So, yeah, 3 alts. So Masari seems like they're bullish on these 3 ecosystems. What do you guys think of H-bar, Phantom, BNB? Only hold one. What's it going to be?
Phantom.
H-bar.
That was
Nick.
That was quick.
What you got?
I'm going to have to be the contrarian here.
BNB?
I got to say BNB.
Man's a Richard Tang,
I wouldn't bet against, I think her name is Yi He, which is CZ's mother of his children and current leader of Binance or CEO, I believe. I'm not sure, chairperson.
Richard Tang. Richard Tang, the CEO right now of Binance?
Oh, no, what's Yi He's role? The not much talked about secret leader.
Oh.
CZ's secret
wife / if people fade Binance, people fade BNB. They're still the major player. They're still the biggest exchange.
I honestly did because like I started purchasing it again, and then I sold once the whole lawsuit stuff came because I was like, man, they're gonna push him out further. And then Richard Tang, though, that's why I started studying all of him and like his history. The guy, it was almost like a planned scenario. Like he came into Binance, and like within the first month, he was like some legal representative. He started taking over CEOs of like local jurisdictions, and like within 2 years became the top dog. He went from, and he worked at like Monetary Authority of Singapore. He worked at Abu Dhabi's like SEC, which is like one of the top regulatory bodies. And so like at the same time that CZ was being pushed out, this guy was being propped up. And I was like, I don't know. I think he's a perfect replacement at this point. I was like, holy smokes.
Yi He's official name here is she is the co-founder. She co-founded it with CZ. She is Chief Customer Service Officer. Okay, so that's her current role.
Gotcha.
All right, but some say, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying some say she is the person pulling the strings, the crypto queen pulling the strings at Binance.
Hang on, scroll back up.
According to Wall Street Journal.
We got some people out here. Go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, scroll back up.
Scroll back up.
Yeah, easy. Oh, yeah. All right, go ahead.
Okay, all right.
Or you're just trying to look at...
Nick's just being Nick.
All right. all right. Well, speaking of Nick being Nick and Dicks being Dicks, we have the United States government trying to completely... we have new orbs, guys, wanting to track your digital identity. So make sure you just line up single file and hold each other's hands as you scan each other's eyeballs with this new orb device coming to WorldCoin. We have new orb coming soon, guys. How exciting! The CEO and co-founder of Tools for Humanity, WorldCoin's parent company, Melania, also said that there will be several iterations of the orb.
And they'll each look different. Like it would be a rarity. It's like a Pokeball, right? You got the Ultra Ball, the Master Ball, Yeah.
Yeah, I heard 1 out of 10 of them, if you shake it and ask it a question, it'll tell you yes or no.
I heard you got to show your brown eye.
Yeah.
So it's it's a color issue. Lighter color eyes don't pick up as easily. That's what I'm talking about.
I think a tongue print is better.
Well,
after a brown eye,
maybe just tattoo that up right on. Nice little certain stamp with my QR code to scan me every time I go into a restaurant. But I don't know if you guys notice, I'm not the biggest fan of WorldCoin. One, the tokenomics are terrible. Sam Altman literally it's just sketch, man.
Sam Altman is not one to bet against, though.
He's not.
He has a track record of success.
AI ruling governments, like in managing governments, and us trusting AI to run governments in the future. That was an interesting conversation.
You know what, Sam? Congratulations. He just got married, so congratulations, Sam.
I would still love to have dinner with him.
Who, Sam?
I'd pick his brain. He's a bright guy.
He'd be like, we're sitting at the dinner table. He's like, can you scan this real quick?
Very young leader of Y Combinator, and that's a company of very smart people.
I actually know a guy who has Sam Bankman-Fried's number.
I want to ask him why Larry Summers is on the board now. But anyways, we'll move to Ripple here, entering $10 trillion crypto custody market with Medico, HSBC, massive advancements for Ripple and the XRP community, specifically Ripple. I'm really bullish on their IPO shares. Man, we did not ask Deaton about an IPO or XRP. I think that would have been a great question to ask him.
I kind of asked him about it. So, I mean, they don't have any plans for 2024. There's nothing that can happen as long as Gary Gensler. But you wanted to ask him, you got $100. What would you rather have? I feel like most people say IPO. David, the CTO, says IPO. And so, I mean, if the CTO is saying it, I would agree with the guy who literally knows underneath the hood of XRP better than everybody. You think, DZ doesn't know he's talking about XRP. Do you know better than Joel Schwartz, the CTO? I would reckon you don't. I would say he probably knows better. He chose the IPO over XRP tokens. That being said, I still have a little XRP.
Is there anything more poetic than XRP having a partnership with HSBC of all banks? The most corrupt bank on the planet.
More than JP Morgan?
Oh, yeah. Their HSBC is like the official bank of the cartels and North Korea.
Didn't they just have like an issue with China? I think China purchased them out or something. And I'd have to look that up. But yeah, no, they had some big, I forgot what it was. It was like one of those things. And then like Jeffrey Epstein came out with JP Morgan. I completely was like, let's screw that one. We're going to go talk about this bank now. But we have Microsoft, guys, cuts 1,900 Xbox and Activision staff amid gaming industry crisis. Now, this is actually a surprising thing I'm going to tell you guys. Generally, when a company does mass layoffs, that's actually incredibly bullish. So Google, I think, just did a mass layoff because it's going to actually help their underlying overhead and their profit margins. Nearly 6,000 game industry employees have lost their jobs already in 2024, with Microsoft now responsible for nearly 1/3 of these cuts. Despite being less than a month into 2024, we have an invasion on our border. We have multiple. No, I'm just kidding. We're just going to go into all like, this is a terrible year. Thousands of video game industry workers have already lost their jobs. And now Microsoft is joining the depressing trend as it plans to lay off 1,900 more.
I would have thought they're hiring because Pal World, right? Pal World taking the world by storm, downloaded it yesterday. And I played a little Magic game. But Kat, my fiance, she was playing a little bit. It's a deep, somewhat for that type of game. You think of Pokemon, very, very kid friendly. A little bit of a steep learning curve for that game, you would think. Very deep. It was pretty compelling, and so I was having a lot of time, a good time watching her play that. She's still, a noob, metal axe. She doesn't have guns and stuff yet, but she's building up.
Card game? Is it a card game or is it a?
No, it's like a RPG, like Pokemon, and you got to craft your clothing. It's like that style of world. You're punching a tree, you're punching a rock, then you craft a beating stick.
Is it for Nintendo?
It is on Xbox and Steam, and I think it just got added to Xbox Live, so that's why we downloaded it yesterday. And it's free. It was free with the Game Pass. I paid like $10 a month or whatever, and free game. So people were talking about it. She loved it. It seemed pretty fun. I don't know if you guys game. Anyone games?
We play a lot of we just finished Super Mario Wonder. But I definitely want to get it. So we just need to get a console. We haven't got a console. So
it's Super Mario Wonder. That's the Mario Brothers Stevie Wonder collab where you got to play. Never mind. I don't even go there.
He's too young.
I was going to say
he's too young.
He tried. He goes,
well, I don't want to be ableist.
Wait, hang on,
I just said I'm going to do it anyways.
Josh, do you know who Stevie Wonder is?
A little bit, but if he goes with an analogy of his history, I'm like, I don't know what that guy's childhood was like or any of his major events.
He's just known for playing the piano. This.
That's all I'm gonna know.
Oh boy.
But speaking of crazy things that I do understand, thankfully. We have a Bitcoin critic here, Peter Schiff, predicting $10 million Bitcoin price prediction. The guy that FUDs Bitcoin nonstop. He goes, you know what? There is something if this happens. And I think, honestly, he's just doing this because, one, guys, Peter Schiff was kind of irrelevant for a while because he made 12 books on the ever-ending crash that never came. And he's just been sidelined this entire time. And gold has performed terribly. He's actually would be down in terms of inflation. But this guy, guys, gets views and clicks when he talks about Bitcoin. And so Schiff came out, guys, and he criticized mainstream media coverage of Bitcoin ETFs, noting that many analysts expressing caution did not offer such warnings before their launch. So he's mad because he's been a critic and he called this. And then he turns around and goes, yeah, you know what? The US dollar might collapse, guys, and that could send Bitcoin to $10 million in the future. I think this is just such a dumb clickbaity article from Peter Schiff. He's obviously trying to fearmonger and just create this fear porn to ultimately sell more of his own books. Because let's be real, guys, the US dollar, in my opinion, is not going to go anywhere in the next 5 or even 10 years. It would take decades to see that changing direction just because of how the world is embedded with our manufacturing and global statistics just on the trade of the US dollar. It's over 90% of that trading volume. So what are we going to do? Are we going to go to Canada next? No, we're not in terms of that dollar value. We have Crimson coming out here. Member for 2 months. Shout out to you, Crimson, guys. Make sure you guys are checking out that membership and clicking join. If you guys want, I believe it's ad-free, all the emojis, and a bunch of cool member-only live streams, which we'll be having today after the
I'm
show.
getting bullish off this message. Pal World is Ark with Pokemon instead of dinosaurs. Ark is a crafting game. The top 2 devs are crypto veterans. NFT integration be easy. You don't need crypto to make money on this game. I'm grinding it out right now. Could you roll up? There's someone who had a comment about Microsoft a little bit further. Someone is saying, yeah, right there. They were lazy. Same reason Elon laid off his employees. Yeah, probably surplus elites. No, you had it right. The right one. Microsoft is a nickname my girlfriend gave me, I guess because I'm so smart. No, it's because you're the window into her soul. So, no, it's a nice nickname. So just remember that. It's a nice nickname. Or you have a hard drive. Hey, moving the guide. All right. Hey, appreciate that. Anything else?
Are we doing Q&A?
Oh, Q&A.
Well, we're wrapping up because we got the member stream.
Oh, yeah.
So we are doing Q&A with the members, guys.
Right,
so make sure you don't want to miss that because, guys, not only, I got to do the giveaway winners right now really quick. So for Blofin and the people that are commenting, if you guys are commenting, make sure you guys are commenting on every single live stream, every single video. We're choosing winners every single week to win up to pretty much $600 in comments. And then we have the Blofin here. But guys, we've been giving away tons of hidden gems and altcoins today after stream. We're going to be going over the products we're watching, what I accumulated, what I just bought into, and all of those favorite hidden gem tokens that you guys want to see in the members only live stream right after this. So make sure you guys click that join button. But for the ETH comment winner, guys, we have, oh, no freaking way.
Yes,
I love that. So we have actually Crimson in the chat. Just won the ETH comment as the ETH comment winner. I believe it's $100 in Ethereum going to Crimson Caravan Co. So they will be reaching out and messaging you. And then ultimately the Blofin winner here, guys, for $500 this week with the best P&L. And if you guys want to know how to qualify for that, guys, make sure you guys go over to the Discover Twitter and just go to the top of the page. I'm going to pull it up right here, guys, so you can see what I'm talking about. But ultimately, it's just Discover Crypto on Twitter. It is the pinned tweet. And all you have to do is just follow these rules to enter that every single week for you guys. And that's going to go to AIO1239090. I hope that's not your social security number. I will try that later here. So shout out to you guys for winning this. Thank you for all the engagement, all the love, and everything. And ultimately, I think you did have one thing you said before I cut you off.
No. That's all. I was just going to say, we'll see you